Hey, this is Anney.
And Samantha.
And welcome to Stuff I Never Told You, a production of iHeartRadio. And today we are talking about a Greek mythological figure, Cassandra, who has had a huge impact and it continues to resonate to this day. I know we've talked about this before, Samantha, but did you ever get into Greek mythology?
Yeah, so all of the encyclopedias or like Britannicas or any of those, especially for children, would have Greek myths as like one of them. And I would read through all of those. I was very fascinated with Greek myths, Roman myths, which kind of had a whole tie into it. So yes. And I may have forgotten though, quite a bit of it though. But when you remind me, I'm like, oh yeah.
Did you know about Cassandra?
I did not. I did not until I came into you and said, my partner said this phrase, and I just stared at him and I was like, who's Cassandra? And he said, do you not know about this saying? And I was like, no.
And I immediately was like, here's all why.
Yep.
Yes. So this is a topic that is inspired by Samantha's partner, who then asked me, and then I was like, yes, let's do it. You can see, I would say, relevant past episodes are Why Didn't You Believe Her? That I did with friend of the show, and at that time, temp host, and at current moment, host over on the other podcast I do, Savor. And it was all about, why it was tying in the kind of the politics of not believing women with this history that we see in media. Also, you can see the episode we did, a book club episode we did on the book Circe, related. All right. So, yes, I, through your partner, have learned that I guess this is coming back, this idea of I don't want to be a Cassandra, or I'm tired of being a Cassandra. This isn't new, but it's having a resurgence.
Right.
And we will talk about that and why I think it is at the end. But yes, I was big into Greek mythology as well. But I also have told this story many times, watched the Scream movies when I was far too young to be watching them. And the second Scream movie, when Sydney goes to college, she is an actress, and she is in this play where she plays Cassandra. Yes. And she has this whole scary scene where she foresees the fall of Troy, and all the lights are going wild and everybody's wearing masks. And then, of course, she sees Ghostface in there. But, but she's saying, like, no one believes me. I'm seeing all these horrible things and no one believes me. And so, of course, I had to look it up. I had to learn, who is this Cassandra? So that's the first time I remember learning about her. The play Cassandra is also the last play that happens in The Last of Us 2, the video game, before everything shut down. In the show, it's Sick Habit, which is a made-up band in the universe. But in the game, it is the play Cassandra is what is on their kind of theater home base marquee. Then, just this year, it's 2025. Just in 2024, Taylor Swift released the song Cassandra, and I was going to read some lyrics. You're going to get some song lyrics in here.
I'm excited. Can you
I'm
sing
not going to sing. I'm not going to sing.
Damn it, come on.
This song has been stuck in my head, though, since I've been doing this research. So, when the first stone's thrown, they're screaming. In the street, there's a raging riot. When it's burned the bitch, they're shrieking. When the truth comes out, it's quiet. So they killed Cassandra first because she feared the worst and tried to tell the town. So they set my life in flames. I regret to say, do you believe me now? And then there's also an ABBA song. There's actually several songs, but these are the two that I know.
Fair enough.
Yes. So here's some quotes from the ABBA song. Pity Cassandra that no one believed you, but then again, you were lost from the start. Now we must suffer and sell our secrets, bargain, playing smart, aching in our hearts. Sorry, Cassandra, I misunderstood. Now the last day is dawning. Some of us wanted, but none of us would, listen to the words of warning. But on the darkest of nights, nobody knew how to fight, and we were caught in our sleep. So if you don't know the story of Cassandra, I feel like you're probably getting a vibe here already.
Right.
Yes. I would also say just this theme is relevant in horror movies. 80% horror movies has something that goes along these lines. Also, this brought back a memory for me. One of my best friends, we, in 8th grade, we tried to sneak into the R-rated film Troy. And
of all films, that one?
She was wearing a middle school track shirt. And so the person selling the tickets was like, no. And so then we said Mean Girls and bought tickets for that. And then we went to go watch Troy. But, looking back, I'm like, wow, my whole life, I could have diverged. But I looked it up. I haven't seen that movie since then. Cassandra is not in it.
Oh.
Yes. But with all of this clear impact that Cassandra has had on media, on me, let's talk about the history and the myth. So, in Greek mythology, Cassandra was an intelligent, brave, mortal princess of the ancient, powerful, wealthy city-state of Troy, which was located in what is now Turkey, which is a real city, by the way. You can look it up. And was a priestess of Apollo, who gifted her with the ability to accurately and precisely predict the future. She features heavily in several tragedies, including Aeschylus' Agamemnon, which delves into her prophecies and the events leading to the fall of Troy and her death. Euripides' The Trojan Women, which highlighted the pain and suffering of Trojan women after Troy's fall, and the injustice done to Cassandra specifically. And then Virgil's Aeneid, which described the fall of Troy, fate, and Cassandra's role in all of it. She's been in a lot of other things from that time, but those were the 3 big ones. She was the daughter of the last king and queen of Troy, King Priam and Queen Hecuba. Stepping aside a bit, Priam's father angered the gods by not repaying them for building the wall around Troy and other things. So they killed him and the rest of his family, leaving only Priam alive. Priam went on to have a boatload of children, perhaps up to 100, including Cassandra. Like he was like, my whole family died, so I'm going to have this huge family, and hopefully someone will make it out. He also fathered Prince Paris, who set off the Trojan War by running away with or kidnapping Helen, depending on what you read and how you interpret it.
Who was in Troy. Yeah.
Yes, the wife of the king of Sparta. So he basically... Oh, gosh. This is such a complicated family story to tell, but he all right, let me step back. I'll get to that in a second. Depending on what you read, Cassandra desperately tried to stop Paris, like begging him, please do not go to Sparta, do not have any contact with Helen, and definitely do not bring her back to Troy. In some versions, she even requested he be killed as an infant, because she knew his actions would lead to the downfall of Troy. Of course, he didn't listen to her, and everything she foresaw came to fruition. His abduction/elopement of Helen to Troy led to the Spartans laying siege on the city. The Trojans held off the Spartans for 9 years, but the whole area around them was kind of getting decimated, and they were taking in prisoners. And then they set up this trap that led to the final blow and the fall of Troy. Hector was another of Cassandra's siblings, the most skilled warrior in Troy until Achilles killed him. This is one of those episodes where I'm like, I just don't have time to explain the history and who everyone is. I feel like people know Achilles, at least they know Achilles' heel, but that's kind of a big deal. And this all kind of happened after Hector killed Achilles' friend and possible lover, Patroclus. Achilles was so infuriated and full of vengeance after that he slays Hector, drags his body around behind his chariot in front of the walls of Troy, refusing to return him to his family for a proper burial, as was custom. However, Priam snuck into the Greek camp and convinced Achilles to turn over his son's body. And Paris later kills Achilles. Oh my goodness. Cassandra also has a twin brother, Helenus, who had the power of prophecy too. In some versions, Apollo gave it to him as well. In other versions, Cassandra taught him. But people believed him. They did not believe her.
Surprise.
He may have gotten his powers from Apollo, but there's a later version where they both got their powers after they were left in Apollo's temple as babies, and a serpent licked their ears clean so that they could hear things more clearly and divine things from nature. Most of the stuff I read said that came much like that was somebody having fun much later after the originals were written. But I did want to mention it because it does come up quite a bit. And if you're already like, wait, you're giving several facts that don't align, yes, because these are very old texts, right, and people had a lot of versions of them. So
right. And again, like the Roman gods were similar and had different stories, but had like, again, similar, they're same with different ideals, names, and places. So like there's so many things, because I remember being really confused. I'm like, wait, I've heard this story before, but it's this, and realizing it's switched up. So the narrative is very different.
Yes, it's just slightly different enough to be like, okay. But let us get back to the generally told version. Because this is Greek mythology, unfortunately for Cassandra, she was very beautiful. Perhaps the most beautiful of Priam's numerous daughters, which in some accountings is why Apollo gave her the gift in the first place. At the time, such a gift would have been highly revered because, it's the time of ancient Greece. There's a lot of stuff that wasn't understood. You have these gods. If you had the power of prophecy and could see what was coming, that would be a really valuable thing. She rejected suitor after suitor, including Apollo, who made these advances towards her. And when she rejected those advances, he accepted completely gracefully. Nope, just kidding. He tried to take back the gift, but discovered that gods can't take back gifts like that. It was like a little contract, like, nope, no returns. So instead, he cursed her so no one would believe her prophecies. It's a real class act. Yeah.
So emotional.
Yep. Her gift then becomes a curse. If you don't know, again, Apollo is the son of Zeus, the king of the gods, and he is the god of light, poetry, and music, and prophecy. A bunch of other stuff, but those are the main things. Some recountings detail how Cassandra considered Apollo's romantic advances at first, like she was sort of thinking about it, and maybe even encouraged them, but ultimately decided they were better off not being together romantically. In some other versions, she agreed to pursue romance with him in order to get the gift, but then backed out. I would say, in any case,
he's a dick.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I agree. And I mean, if you just sit and think about how terrible this is, like, to know what's coming and have no one believe you, it was a really brutal curse, and it worked. No one believed Cassandra's visions of the future, ones that she knew were true. People speculated that she'd lost her mind and may have even imprisoned her at one point. Still, she kept trying to convince people of the truth of her prophecies. And this was particularly painful when it did come to some of these huge tragedies that she foresaw that could have been prevented if people believed her. And yes, one of the most disastrous cases was when she foresaw the destruction of Troy. She foresaw the Trojan horse, but no one believed her. And Troy fell along with a lot of her family. And I mean, when it fell, almost everybody was slaughtered. Hardly anybody escaped. She tried desperately to stop the Trojans from allowing this giant wooden horse within their walls, knowing it was full of Spartan soldiers, the best of their soldiers. When no one listened, she took an axe to the horse, but the Trojans, who believed it was a gift of surrender from the Spartans and a sign of their victory, stopped her. But again, she was right, and Troy was destroyed. Things did not get better after that for Cassandra. She knew the destruction was coming, so she took shelter in Athena's temple, clinging to the statue of Athena for protection, but was discovered by Spartan soldiers. Of the people who found her was a soldier named Ajax the Lesser, who was second only to Achilles in his abilities as a soldier. He dragged her from the altar and viciously raped her.
Ugh, why?
Yeah. In some versions in front of her father before they killed him. Athena later enlisted the help of Poseidon, god of the sea, for revenge on Cassandra's behalf because she was taking shelter under Athena's protection and he violated that. So, And Poseidon sank a good portion of the Greek fleet and killed Ajax. Especially Ajax survived the sinking. He was clinging to a rock, and Poseidon was like, "Nope," and he threw the trident at the rock and killed him. This is part of the story told in the Odyssey, by the way, the kind of rough seas part. Ajax's abduction of Cassandra is featured in a lot of art. A lot of art. So the Greek king Agamemnon, who was the victor in the Trojan War, took her as a concubine, eventually she gave birth to twins from him. When she tried to warn him that they would die if they returned to Greece, that they would be murdered, he didn't believe her. And the prophecy came true. Agamemnon's wife, Clytemnestra, and her lover, Aegisthus, killed them both and the twins. Clytemnestra was angry that Agamemnon had sacrificed their daughter to the gods and that he had taken Cassandra as a concubine, which I feel was not on her. But okay. Depictions of her either showcase her beauty or her absolute despair, because that is where her story ends. Some even show her ripping her hair out because no one believes what she has to say. And I would also like to note how much of this is men or manly gods wanting to possess a beautiful young woman. Apollo, mad at being rejected by a beautiful woman. Paris starts a war by kidnapping/running off with Helen, the most beautiful mortal woman, which was a prize he chose from the gods. That was the part I didn't get into earlier, but he had this whole thing where he could have chosen 3 prizes, and the one he chose was, I want to be with the most beautiful woman. Agamemnon enslaves Cassandra. Helenus goes on to be king, meanwhile. Cassandra's story did resonate with many, and it is one of the most memorable. The tragedy of someone who warns us of future danger, who is ignored, who is silenced until it is too late, is unfortunately one that many can relate to or have seen. Raising your voice, ringing that warning bell, trying to protect the ones you love, knowing what is coming and not being able to do anything to stop it. Like, it's just a really visceral, terrifying feeling. And I can see how it would make you feel like ripping out your hair and feel like you're losing your minds. Which brings us to the Cassandra complex. So nowadays there is something called the Cassandra complex or Cassandra syndrome or Cassandra phenomenon, which describes situations where valid warnings were dismissed and ignored. French philosopher Gaston Bachelard was the first to use the term in 1949. Over time, it has been used in all kinds of contexts, politics, business, and even things like climate change, where, despite substantial evidence, warnings are ignored. This is also true in areas where economists predict recessions, or people in tech raise questions about tech, and then are accused of holding everyone back, like preventing progress. When it comes to psychology, it isn't a formal diagnosis, but it is often used to describe someone who feels an impending sense of doom and can do nothing to change it. and no one's listening to them. It is an isolating, frightening, frustrating feeling, and just not a good feeling.
Yeah, I've seen it being used in context to like neurotypical people trying to talk about their partners if they have a neurodivergent diagnosis, but it's not been diagnosed yet, and no one believes the symptom. And they call that Cassandra syndrome. I'm like, wait, you're diagnosing them for noticing other diagnosis? I don't understand, which is an interesting concept.
It is, and it relates to my next point. On a more personal level, you may have seen this kind of thrown around when you're warning a friend about a toxic relationship and they don't listen to you. Or as a parent, you might get warnings about your child that you dismiss because it's uncomfortable. Ignoring medical advice or early symptoms of something. It could be like way more complicated than that, obviously, because the medical field, we get misdiagnoses all the time. But that kind of idea, these are still instances that could be labeled or fall under the Cassandra complex. There are a lot of reasons people ignore warnings with evidence, a lot of evidence even, to back them up. Bias, not trusting sources, doubting the credibility of sources, groupthink, social pressure, just don't want to deal with it vibe, and not thinking about the future, and dismissing someone who is marginalized, which Cassandra, she would have been more privileged as a pretty princess, but she would have been marginalized at the time. There's also something called the Apollo archetype, which is sort of the antithesis that basically entails someone who is all about being reasonable. So in this case, sort of like Helenus is making these prophecies, but they're like, he's reasonable though. Cassandra does it. And they're like, oh, that's a hysterical woman. That cannot be. And she did get a lot of that kind of flack of, she is a woman who's got too many emotions. We need to keep her behind closed doors. We don't need to
keep her quiet.
But she, to her credit, and the real tragedy of it is she never stopped trying. She never stopped trying to prevent these things and to warn people. It's just a shame that she had to go through all of that. And she knew, like, can you imagine seeing your death coming and knowing, like, oh my God, why won't they just listen to me?
Right.
The death of your family. There is also another rabbit hole you can go down if you would like. It's called Real Life Cassandras. So, for instance, there are diplomats who tried to stop war. There's several cases of that. Economists who tried to stop recessions. Officials who tried to warn about COVID and nobody listened.
And they're still demonized.
Yes.
Sorry, Fauci.
Still. Oh my gosh. I'm just trying to tell what's happening.
This is what's happening. Can you do it? It is a liberal agenda to make us wear masks. What? Why is that a thing?
What a power move.
Right.
What a power move. Also, if somebody just leaves like a big wooden horse outside, maybe open it outside.
Well, also, like, what is it? Like, why would you like this so much? It's a wooden horse, sir.
Yeah.
It's not like it's marble.
We don't need to bring it in. Leave it out.
There's no need.
There was no need. No need at all. Then, also historically, we do have hysteria, which was a thing. The hysterical, emotional woman that we don't believe. It was a thing in the sense that people thought that's what was going on.
Right.
It's not really what was going on. And then presently, things like not believing women when it comes to health.
Or anything.
Right. Which brings me to the next one. #MeToo.
Yeah.
That was another example where for so long, women have been saying, hey, this is a real problem. And then when it finally unleashes online, becomes this big movement, it's a witch hunt. It's all these women who are trying to punish
Men can't be nice or we're going to be told that we're being harassing. Sir, we know what nice is. This is not it.
No, it's not. And do you think this is fun? Like, this is a miserable, painful experience.
Right. The fact that mostly women are being ostracized and fired or being pushed out because they have been harassed and actually wanted to stop it. Ugh.
Yeah. And we have, unfortunately, I mean, in some ways, fortunately, I guess, but in a lot of ways, unfortunately, we have some pretty high profile sexual assault plus a lot of other cases going on right now in the US.
I mean, people like P. Diddy just got.
Yeah. And a lot of the discourse around it is like, look at these women.
Right.
But, kind of another example of that is whistleblowers, I would say, who will say, you know, this is a real problem and are just often completely ignored or silenced. And this is a bigger issue than for this episode, but it is really related. This whole idea of like dismantling expertise when it's inconvenient. Mm-hmm. So when your expertise is saying I can go about living my life, I love that.
Right.
That's great. I don't have to make any changes. But when it's saying this is a real problem, we all need to make a change, then it's, oh, who do you think you are? What do you really know?
Right.
Climate
change doesn't exist. What are you talking about? Big corporations love me. They're not polluting the world. If only you would recycle.
Right. It snowed last year. Can't be.
It's so cold now for a day.
Yes. Ugh. But I mean, that's also, it's frustrating in terms of the skills, like having these skills or this knowledge and seeing these consequences of ignoring these experiences, especially of marginalized people. It's not that no one can't understand, because some people paint it as like, I read an article about Cassandra that was wondering if maybe we've painted Cassandras into too much of a, like, no one can be on their level. But it's not that, because they're breaking it down for you. That's like their goal is to get you to understand.
Right.
But a lot of people, for one reason or another, don't listen or don't want to listen. Mm-hmm. And that's been that's an old idea, that why do we tear down people who have knowledge? We've done that forever. Mm-hmm. And then it's sort of a shoot the messenger type thing of blaming experts when their predictions come true.
Right.
And some people were even talking about, you know, why would you want to be a Cassandra in this case? Because keeping your mouth shut would be better, because you'd be punished for being a Cassandra.
Right.
Yeah.
Or killed.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And a lot of Cassandras, especially women and marginalized folks, have been erased. But that, I mean, there are a lot of reasons why I think it's resonating now. I think that marginalized folks feel that they've been sounding the alarm for years and years and years and years. And this burden of truth. And this kind of dealing with this whole people being annoyed. I think kind of the backlash about DEI and stuff might be an example of this, but being annoyed, like, you're bringing too much attention to this thing. It's not that big of a deal, but it is, and it has been. And then there's this sort of other idea of people getting really angry. Like, how did we not know this? When people did know this.
Yeah.
They've been saying it.
Right. We've been saying the fact that they're going after trans people, and just because you're not trans doesn't mean it's not going to fall on you. The same thing as they're going after the Black community, and just because you're not Black doesn't mean that they're not coming after you next. It's kind of the same thing as they're going after immigrant people. First, it was the Muslim community saying they're trying to protect the, from terrorists, because we have so many bad players. I'm saying that sarcastically, that they use that, and then next, like, they win the Latino vote, saying that, yeah, those are the bad people, for sure. they are, or like queer people are bad. And then they were like, oh, wait, they're going to get us too? Okay. And then the other minorities, including Asian communities who are like, but we're fine because, we're the model minority and they're getting just as many people being deported out. You're like, that was the Cassandra call you're not listening to. When they come for all, they will eventually, when they come for one, they're going to come for all. Like it's happening and no one's listening. Because they really think that they're protected somehow, or it doesn't really affect them. That's the other part is like, as where they just don't believe them. They just don't believe it's going to affect them personally.
That's true. And of course, I got to put in another nerd reference because I was thinking about this. I was thinking about this in another context because I feel like there's this thing, I've talked about it before, called the Iceman list, which is basically like, if you look back at a lot of 80s movies, the villain kind of, maybe they were a jerk, but was kind of right.
Yeah.
But they're very painted as villainous. But a lot of times it's like, the EPA guy in Ghostbusters saying, hey, this is bad.
Right.
Or like, it's Goose in Top Gun being like, this is not safe. And guess what happened to Goose? Like, so I think there's also a villainizing of Cassandras in that way. But I'd also just have to mention, okay, there's this character named Fives from Star Wars. Okay. So he was a clone. And the clones all had these chips in their heads. And that's how the Jedi were pretty much wiped out, because they couldn't sense what was coming in the Force, because the clones didn't sense what was coming in the Force because they didn't know they had these chips in their head.
Right.
But Fives found out about it.
Is this from the
Clone Wars show?
Oh, okay.
Yes. But I have a friend who just texted me and was like, I cannot believe you've turned me into this Star Wars person. And now I can't unsee all the parallels in our current society. I was like, I know. But anyway, Fives, he learns and he figures it out and no one listens to him. And they think he's like this big conspiracy theorist. But his friends and Anakin Skywalker and Obi-Wan Kenobi, also his friends, they're like, something is here. He's a friend of ours. Even if this is a conspiracy theory, something's clearly wrong. And they try to help him. And then of course the old Emperor Palpatine kills him. But he was sounding that alarm. And if he had gotten that message out, things could have gone very differently and probably much better. So that's the peril of not listening to Cassandra.
That's right. This is we live in this peril.
Yeah, we do. We do, unfortunately. Also, as we've touched on, the dangers of being a voice of dissent. I think a lot of people are worried about that. And so that's why Cassandra is resonating. How it feels to not be believed is a really miserable feeling, especially if you share something painful or maybe something you never shared. So I think that's one of the reasons. And having that feeling of knowing what's coming and not being able to do about it, like that helpless feeling of I can't stop this. That is just, I think all of us are feeling that right now. Right. A lot of us, at least.
Right.
Powerful people abusing power. So, Apollo doing what he did, especially when someone refuses to fall in line or gift them with what they want or feel entitled to. Because they gave you a gift. AI and disinformation and misinformation. I think we've got a lot of like, I don't know what even is real anymore.
Right. There's so many videos I'm even seeing that people are like, wait, this is it? Maybe is it? No. Yes. And it's bad. It's been bad for a while, whether it's just misinformation that's being leaked as fact to this, to like having videos of being like, is that a real video? Or is this cute dog and bear? Is this a thing?
Yeah. I have an episode coming up where I had to really do some digging. Like, is this real? I just need to make sure that this is okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Also, I think a lot of this story is about fate. So she can't stop these things. And I think for some people, that idea is really frightening. Because that goes back to the whole free will, we can change things versus that's just fate. Right. That's what it is.
I wonder if writing this tale is one of those explainers, because it doesn't make sense why women are so distrusted, just like in such a way that this fairy tale is like, maybe this is why, because nothing else makes sense. It's a curse. Like, because there's no reason, kind of the same as the Adam and Eve tale. It's kind of like, oh, we have to say this is the reason why they're not trustworthy, or this is the reason it's their fault. And so this kind of aligns to explaining why we don't believe women, not just why we shouldn't, but why we don't, because nothing else makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, I would say that is a brutal punishment.
Yeah.
It is a huge, like, punishing a woman for knowing
right
what is coming. So that hats off. I mean, that's awful. I didn't get to read the entire article, but there's a piece about Virgil's depiction of Cassandra and how sexist it was. So there's definitely, I mean, if it's coming from like ancient times, there's no part of me that thinks it was probably a healthy depiction of women.
Right.
But it is interesting how, as time has moved on, modern interpretations are much more like, I don't even know if you knew what you were writing. Almost.
Right.
Yeah. And then the final points to end on, because it's kind of a bummer on some of these, but resistance. I mean, like I said, she didn't give up, even though no one believed her. She kept trying, and her story did stick around and has lasted and has resonated with so many people. And I'm sure, you know, that's kind of amazing,
right?
Because it was a story about a woman coming from that long ago. Very easily could have been lost, or she would have been the character that got kind of pushed to the side.
Right.
But she really wasn't.
Instead, she is a metaphor.
Yeah. And I mean, it's a terrible, what happened in that story to her is awful.
Well, I feel like they just always have to add this. That one's like, why?
Yeah. It was really
being beaten would have been bad enough. Kidnapped, pretty bad. But no, we have to add one more. I'm okay. Everything's fine.
Yep. Well, listeners, if you have any thoughts about this, I would definitely love to hear them. Yes. Any other mythological figures we should do, or if you have any examples of real world Cassandras that we should do, please let us know. You can email us at hello@stuffonnevertoldyou.com. You can find us on Blue Sky at Monster Podcast, or on Instagram and TikTok at Stuff on Never Told You. We're also on YouTube, and we have a book you can get wherever you get your books. Thanks as always to our super producer Christina, our executive producer Maya, and our contributor Joey.
Thank you.
And thanks to you for listening. Stuff on Never Told You is a production of iHeartRadio. For more podcasts from iHeartRadio, you can check out the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.